Are you as successful as you want to be? If you are not, and you want to know the secrets of why, tune in and find out, and I'll explain it to you.
You are listening to the Prosper at Law podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper at Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. I'll ask you this question, and this is from the Steely Dan song. Are you reeling in the years? And I love Steely Dan. And I love the sound, and I love the songs, and there are 3 or 4 of their songs that are just fantastic, and I love listening to them. But then there's the song about the breakup, Are You Reeling in the Years and Stowing Away the Time? And what are you doing with your time? Because if you don't set goals and you don't have a mission and you don't know you don't know the steps or what to do, then are you just reeling in the years? Because for years, that's what I was doing. I was just passing the time. I was just reeling in the years. The months and years were just clicking by on the calendar, and nothing in my life was changing. And there was a reason for that, because I wasn't doing anything different to make it change. I was just reeling in the years. And I don't know that that's even what the song is about, but it makes the point. And if I ask you this, are you just reeling in the years and stowing away the time? How is your life going? If you're a criminal defense lawyer and you're hardworking and you're dedicated and you know what you're doing and you have a success rate in court and you have the clients that you've literally saved their life, how is your life going? And I'm not talking about your win rate in court. I'm talking about things you've accomplished. You have in your life, you have your professional success, you have your personal success, you have your spiritual growth. So, to have a full life, you need to be able to grow in these areas in terms of health, spiritual growth, money, professional reputation, your personal life, your family life. How is that going? Are all of those things good? In other words, are you happy in where you are and what you've accomplished? And I'd ask you this question. Can you name 3 things or 2 things or even one thing, one big thing that you've accomplished in the past year? And I'd ask you just to think about it. What's one big thing that you've accomplished in the past year? Can you name anything? Okay. Now, if you ask me that, and I don't know, these are big things to me because they move me forward in terms of growth. This year, and this is 2025, and this is being recorded in November because I record these well in advance because of the way I live my life. I don't want to be on a schedule. I do this, and then they come out regularly. So when you listen to them, you can always count on it. So here in November. So, and I really hadn't thought about this before I was doing this. But if you put me on the spot and you go, well, Greg, name maybe a few big things that you've accomplished this year. And I'm talking specifically about my law firm. And I would say this, I found and hired a superstar criminal defense lawyer that I wanted. And he started a few months ago. I think he started in June. Now, it took me 9 months to a year to find him because he wasn't the first person I talked to. It took a while. I was searching, talking to people, watching people, asking people, and it took a while to find him, but I found him. And also, at the time that we brought him in, because I have all this cash outflow going for these other businesses that I have, it was the absolute worst time to hire somebody. If I asked my bookkeeper, can we afford him? She says no. If I ask somebody else, they say, well, can you bring this person in? They would say no. But I did it. I brought it in. I'm paying him. The law firm is growing. So there's one big thing. I brought in another criminal defense lawyer to support our growth. What's another thing? We just opened another office in Georgetown. The sign's going up next week. We've got the lease. We got the location. We've got it on Google. We've got reviews. We've got, it's the Google site's linked to our website. I checked it the other day. It's already got traffic. So big things. Brought in a great superstar trial lawyer. Opened an office in Georgetown. What else? Here's another thing. After being in my office location, I've talked a lot about my location on this podcast and the significance of that part of your physical plant. I was surprised. I got notice from my landlord that they were not going to renew the lease. So, 11 years of lease had run out. It caught me off guard. I was the last thing I expected is to get the notice that we're not renewing your lease. You got 3 months to vacate. Well, if you listen to this podcast, you know how important my office is to me because I'm in the right part of town, have the right look, the right building to attract the kind of ideal clients that I want. And so now what? So I had to find another office, right? But it didn't just any office. There were certain requirements that had to be met. I wanted it in a certain geographic location. And so I found the office. We've signed the lease. The move is being set up. And so we're moving pretty seamlessly in just a few weeks. And my office manager, my firm administrator is handling that. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. And my office staff is excited. They're excited for the move. We're going to have our own freestanding building. They're even planning to get, a barbecue grill to put outside on the first floor. And they're all in. They're excited about it. They've been over there. They looked at it. They're engaged in how we're going to set it up and who's going to be where and what rooms we're going to use. And they've just been very engaged in that. So what could have been a disaster, and what I could have done is I could have said, why me? I can't believe after paying my lease payments for 11 years and really until I buy a space, I really never plan to leave. Why would they not renew my lease? I could have wallowed in that. I could have felt bad for myself, but I didn't. Now, I admit it was a kick to the gut when I first heard it. And I felt like that for probably 5 minutes. But after that, what I've learned is that's reality. So I can't go down this woe me path and wallow in it for 2 weeks and miss an opportunity. I think it was 2 days later I noticed, and I had a couple places in mind, I noticed that the tenant who had been in the space we're moving into had been in there 17 years. And I noticed they had a for lease sign up. And I called my commercial realtor because I'd already maybe it was a week, because I'd already spoken to the commercial realtor a few days earlier. And so I called him. I said, look, I need to see this place. We need to see what it's about. And it works. Problem solved. So 3 things. Hired a superstar trial lawyer, opened an office in another town, and set up my move to the new location. Now, I could go on, okay, and some of the things are maybe, I don't think there's anything bigger. I've got the complete legal defense team, which is a criminal defense law firm, but we also do a lot of DUI cases. And so I've always kind of tried to keep that like it's the same firm, but separate, a little bit separate. And so the other thing is completelegalDefenseTeam.com, but they also have CompleteDUIDefense.com. And so that website, needs to be improved. And so that's getting ready to launch. So there's a big thing that I've done. I've revised that website. And at the same time, and I don't know if I did this year or last year, it might have been the end of last year, I completely redid the Complete Legal Defense Team website and improved it. So that's, I guess, 5 things. And if I keep thinking, oh, and another thing we did is we launched a TikTok channel. And I have a fantastic creator who works in my law firm, who's the person that I recruited out of IHOP in Orlando, Florida. The TikTok and the social media, we really launched that this year. So there's 6 big things, okay? So hopefully you've had some time to think. Name one big thing that you've done this year. Can you name one big thing that's going to change the direction of your life? And the thing about this is, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. You're responsible for this. And if you cannot name one thing you accomplished, then the question I ask is, why is that? And I've got a couple of ideas about it. And I think it's 2 possible reasons. One is that you have done things, you just don't think that way. You don't record it and reflect on it. It's possible that you actually did it, you actually accomplished something great, and you forgot to give yourself credit because you're so ambitious and you're so driven that as soon as the thing is done, you forget about it. And you forget it was ever a problem. And I can give you kind of a trivial example of that. When I moved in my house years ago, and I wasn't in the best financial condition, I overextended myself to buy this big, 3,000 square foot house in this really nice neighborhood in Myrtle Beach. And it had a sprinkler system, but it was all broken. So I wanted to put in, the sprinkler system. But I really didn't have the money. And I remember one time my neighbor, and these people were kind of rich and retired, and they had a farm up in Virginia. They owned like a 60-acre farm in Virginia, and then they had this little ranch house across the street from me, which was, probably the worst house on the block. And they had put in the sprinkler system, and my yard looked terrible. I was the embarrassment of the neighborhood. And I remember back then, me or my wife at the time would mow the lawn, and the lawn was just a bunch of dirt. And I would be, if you've ever done this, I was covered in dirt mowing the stupid lawn because there wasn't any grass. And they came over and they the woman handed me an irrigation card. Like, this is a good irrigation person. If you, and I remember at the time I was so stressed, I lost it. I yelled at her. I said, "Oh, really? Is it free? Is it free?" And I've talked about this before, like on one of the podcasts. I said, would you hang around with your former self? And I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to hang around with who I was back then in 1999, I think it was. But anyway, so then to do the sprinkler system, once I finally somehow figured out I was going to have the money to install the sprinkler system, I wanted to get this, I don't know what you call it, a water connection, because, you have your water meter, and the city of Myrtle Beach at that time, you could put in a separate water meter because I had a swimming pool and I'm running the sprinklers. And so the water bill is half as much because there's no sewer charge, because the water just goes down in the ground, or you pump water into your swimming pool, it stays in the pool. So, and that connection, I think, cost $1,000, $2,000 to install it. And so at some point I did that. So now I've got the second, water meter. I've got this great sprinkler system, and it's just running. And it occurred to me one time, because that was one of the most embarrassing things in my life, is how ugly my lawn was in this nice neighborhood, and how I was like the pariah of the neighborhood that moved in and can't even keep up the lawn. And because, I remember when I moved in that neighborhood, every week there were trucks at people's houses. They were always remodeling. They were always doing something. They were one neighbor was spending money like crazy. Every week somebody was doing it. And my place, the house looked good, but the yard and stuff was just a dump. And so I remember when I solved that, I just forgot about it. So what went from this terrible, embarrassing pain, once it was fixed, I never thought about it again. And that's not necessarily healthy. I should have been out there every week, every day, patting myself on the back that I solved that. But no, I just moved on. I was ambitious. I was driven. So I didn't give myself credit. So that may be that you're just not giving yourself credit. And if that's the case, then try to find some quiet space and some time and think about it to give yourself credit and understand how much you are achieving. Now, the second answer may be, and this is not good. The good one is that you did accomplish things, but you just didn't give yourself credit. So you feel like you did it and you're on the hamster wheel when you really are moving forward. Number two is not good. Number two is that, excuse me, you really don't have any goals. You're just on the hamster wheel. You don't really have any goals. You just stowed away the time and reeled in the years. And if you keep doing that, nothing's going to change. And then one day you're going to retire and or die. And that's that. So then are you happy with that? Because if you don't have any goals and you didn't try anything, are you happy with that? So I remember doing this in the last mastermind we had. It was in Myrtle Beach. And we had our mastermind group there. And I did just two exercises. One is what I call the love-hate grid, and the other one is what's called the 90-day Lookback, where you reflect back on things. So the love-hate grid is very simple. It's a piece of paper, and up in the left top quadrant, it's like you write down everything you love that you're good at, and on the right quadrant, on the right side of the quadrant, you write everything that you're good at but you hate. And then on the left bottom quadrant, you write down what you're not good at, but you love doing. And then the other one is you're not only not good at it, but you hate it, okay? And the idea for doing this is that as you grow a business and you grow your law firm, you don't want to get better at what you're bad at. Success does not come from strengthening your weaknesses. Success does not come to people who get better at what they suck at. Success comes from doubling down and doing what you're good at. So ideally in your life, 95%, maybe 100% of your life should be all you do all week, all you do all day is what you love doing and what you're good at. And what you are bad at that you hate never happens. And the magic about this is that I don't like bookkeeping, I hate bookkeeping, but Kelly loves it and she's good at it. And so there are people, because we're not all the same, there are people that are going to love and be good at the things that you hate that you're bad at. And so I went through this exercise with my group. And so I had the lawyers in the room, and they're sitting there, and it's on a piece of paper, and they're writing down, and I'm looking at it. So I'm walking around the room, like a school teacher, looking over their shoulder. And it surprised me at the time because they couldn't fill out the form. They couldn't fill out the form. Like you give me the form, I'm like an A student, I can just fill it out and fill out because I know what I'm good at, I know what I'd like, I know what I don't like, and I think that they just never took the time no one ever asked them to think about what they liked doing. They never reflected on what they were good at. A really good friend of mine who's a lawyer from Miami, when I looked at his, he said that he was good at going out to dinner and loves it. Okay? And I've been out to dinner with him, and he is good at going out to dinner, and I love going out to dinner with him. But that's not really what I want on the piece of paper, okay? So this is a way of thinking and a way of compartmentalizing which will lead you into success, but more importantly, lead you into a more happy, fulfilled life. Now, the other thing I did is a thing called the 90-day Lookback. The 90-day look back is simple. You just, on a blank piece of paper, just write down what did you do in the last 90 days, okay? And I used to try to do this like for the law firm and then separate it from my personal life and things like that. But the best way to do it is just everything. If you took your family on vacation to Hawaii, that's an accomplishment. You write it down. If you brought in another lawyer to help you grow your law firm, you write it down. If there was a new car you wanted to buy and you were able to get it and you got your new car, which makes you happy and you feel successful in it, write it down. So my group they really didn't know this exercise. And so the same thing, they're sitting there, scratching their head with their pen in their hand. And then I'm walking around, and then we went around the room too to get people to talk about some of the things. And they didn't have much they wrote down. They couldn't think of anything. And then again, it's like, did you not do anything? Or is it just out of your mind and are you not aware of it? It's important to have these goals and also to reflect back on what you've accomplished, because we all, successful people, driven people, maybe not successful people, but driven people, grinders, people that want to do a lot, and then that's whole nother podcast, tasks versus things that make you successful. Tasks alone make you feel better when you get home from work, but they don't do anything for you. They don't move you forward. Your to-do list doesn't change your life. It just makes you feel like a good person because you did a lot. So in this kind of situation, it kind of brings you into focus on what you need to do and what you have to write down. Now, during this exercise, because they were all stumped, I just put on the big screen. I just randomly pulled a 90-day look back that I had done, I think, for like 6 years earlier or something like that. And, there were 120 things on my list. They had 5, they had 7. And so I think there's a couple of things going on here. One is that they're just not trained to think this way. And that's my job as their coach. That's my job as the mastermind facilitator, to teach them how to think successfully, to teach them to focus on the 1 or 2 things every quarter that will change their life. Because if they don't focus on it and they don't learn it, then they're just going to be reeling in the years and stowing away the time. And that's not what we want. That's not what I want. If you're listening to this podcast, it's not what you want. So these are things that you can do. And if you're interested in learning more, go to prosperatlaw.com and look at what we have to offer. You're already listening to the podcast, so that's a big step. But at some point, to stop reeling in the years and stowing away the time, you're going to have to act and get in a success club and get into a situation where you can start growing and growing rapidly. All right, I'm Greg McCollum. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.